In the last couple of hours, the Northern Ireland Executive announced that schools in Northern Ireland will close to pupils from Monday, in line with school closures across the UK. But first, an acknowledgement from both Sinn Féin and the DUP that the response to the virus would be apolitical.
Michelle and I come from very different political backgrounds, but circumstances are very similar. We are mothers, daughters and sisters trying to do the right thing as politicians. Today, we have agreed that all schools will close to pupils from Monday the 23rd of March.
Acting together, standing together, government with community, I know that we can come through this.
Across the border in the Republic of Ireland, schools have been closed for almost a week. Croke Park, Dublin, Ireland's biggest stadium, but much more. A nation's cathedral of sporting culture. Now transformed into a by-appointment drive-through coronavirus testing facility. The ultimate embodiment of the severity of the crisis and the resolve of the response. As of this morning, the total number of coronavirus cases in the Republic of Ireland was 292. There have been 2 deaths. Yesterday was St. Patrick's Day. The Taoiseach addressed the nation. Suddenly, Brexit, the Irish general election, felt like issues from a bygone age.
This is the calm before the storm, before the surge. And when it comes, and it will come, never will so many ask so much of so few.
Yesterday, the Irish Cabinet signed off a number of emergency measures involving the policing of the country's lockdown. In Northern Ireland, 68 people have tested positive, a rise of 10 since Monday. In the last few hours, with schools closing across the UK as well as in the Republic of Ireland, the approach to tackling the virus across the island of Ireland is starting to consolidate.
The number of people dying from coronavirus in Italy has risen by 475 in one day to nearly 3,000, the biggest increase since the outbreak. There are now more than 35,000 cases there. The head of the World Health Organization says many countries are overwhelmed. But there is positive news from China, where only one new case was recorded in Wuhan, where the virus began. People in Spain might be in forced isolation, but that hasn't stopped them protesting. Today, banging pots and pans from their balconies, demanding their king donates the millions of euros he's reportedly received from Saudi Arabia to the Spanish healthcare system. 588 people have died in Spain, including 17 elderly residents at one care home. But that number is dwarfed by the number of deaths in Italy, the centre of the outbreak, where more than 3,000 have died. Across Europe, more than 250 million people have been told not to leave their homes. Belgium and Germany joining France, Spain and Italy in closing schools and all non-essential shops. Elsewhere in the world, Somalia has closed all schools after recording their first case this week, as has Iraq, with soldiers patrolling the streets of Baghdad, urging people to stay home. It has reported 154 confirmed cases with 11 deaths. Although no new cases have been reported across Syria, a relief group operating in rebel-held areas is training volunteers and paramedics in case the pandemic spreads to northwestern Syria.
All of these are emergency measures in preparation for any case or the declaration of a state of emergency in areas of northwest Syria, Idlib and Aleppo. The training includes sessions such as how to deal with suspected cases, people infected with the new coronavirus, and how to use medical equipment.
And in more positive news, there's only been one recorded case today from Wuhan, where the virus originated, and people in Shanghai have been out and about enjoying life again.
The Dutch Minister for Medical Care has collapsed in Parliament. Bruno Bruins passed out during a debate on the coronavirus, falling behind the lectern before being helped to his feet. He later tweeted that it was due to exhaustion, and he is now feeling better. The US imposed further economic sanctions on Iran today, even as the death toll from coronavirus in the Islamic Republic passed 1,000. Britain is hoping that Iran, which has been overwhelmed by the virus, will now release dual nationals, including the charity worker Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe, who's been temporarily allowed out from prison. Here's our international editor, Lindsay Hilson.
Do you want to help me cook dinner? dinner for two, but this family is one tentative step closer to being three again. Because of coronavirus, Richard Ratcliffe's wife Nazanin, 5-year-old Gabriella's mother, was released on furlough from prison in Tehran yesterday.
Physically, she was much better than I was expecting. If you think she had all the symptoms of coronavirus a couple of weeks back, clearly had been getting better, but clearly had been very ill. Actually, she looked fine.
No, Dad.
Yeah. So
Every crisis contains an opportunity. The hope is that Britain might provide medical aid to Iran as a way of channeling money owed for a cancelled 1970s arms deal. That could ease the path to Nazanin's release and return.
I think there's absolutely the same common concern and priority to find a solution to coronavirus and to manage the desperation and the impact it's having in Iran and the UK. And that commonality of problem allows for trust to be built in other areas, allows for sort of a changing of priorities as to actually how important getting humanitarian relief could be.
But she's not the only one. 65-year-old dual national Anousheh Ashuri, seen here with his wife, remains in Evin prison, in danger of contracting the disease. The prominent cleric Hashemi Bathai asks why people are scared of a virus but not of God. When he felt ill, he said, he was cured by drinking holy water from a shrine. Less than a week after this sermon was filmed, he was dead of coronavirus. In Mashhad, riot police battled the faithful, furious that shrines had been shut for health reasons. The cleric in Qom says, "We're not followers of global hygiene." 11 protesters were later arrested, but different branches of the government are in dispute about what to do, and they won't admit to the chaos and shortage of medical supplies.
On the coronavirus, we spoke to people in an honest way. Do not pay attention to the cyberspace and a group of people who do not know what their intentions are.
They're disinfecting the streets. Iran is short of everything to combat COVID-19, partly because of US sanctions. The reporter asks, weren't we meant to stay at home because of the virus? But the drivers don't seem to care. Tehran residents are streaming out of the capital for the New Year holidays, undoubtedly spreading the disease even further.
Now the Dow Jones has once again had to cease trading as it plummeted to levels not seen since before Donald Trump's inauguration. The circuit breaker event happened on Wall Street during the president's daily COVID-19 press conference. Coronavirus has now been confirmed in all of America's 50 states, and the death toll has passed 100. Siobhan Kennedy is in Washington for us. Siobhan, tell us the latest.
Well, Jackie, in normal times, we'd be talking about the US primary elections last night and the fact it now looks almost certain that Senator Bernie Sanders is out of the running to become the Democratic nominee to go up against President Trump in November. But these, of course, are not normal times. Trading on Wall Street was halted automatically for the fourth time today in 2 weeks. 3 of America's biggest car makers have shut down their plants, and a huge floating hospital is due to dock alongside New York City Harbor. In that context, even Donald Trump's $1 trillion economic financial package has failed to reassure the markets, and he has referred to this crisis as a war.
I would like to begin by announcing some important developments in our war against the Chinese virus.
Amid the biggest crisis of his presidency and with thousands dying the world over, Donald Trump still cannot resist pointing the finger of blame.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus?
And when called out, he doubled down.
Why do you keep using this?
Because it comes from China.
Racist.
It's not racist at all, no, not at all. It comes from China. That's why. Comes from China. I want to be accurate.
That's settled as the number of cases in the US jumped to more than 6,000. Residents with symptoms in Miami used a new drive-through clinic to get tested for the virus. A temperature check, a nasal swab, and an anxious wait. Cases have overnight been confirmed in all 50 US states. Donald Trump today declaring emergency powers.
So we will be invoking the Defense Production Act
To require manufacturers to make critical medical equipment in defense of the nation.
These factories were producers of electric refrigerators. Almost overnight, they became the world's largest producers of 50 caliber machine guns.
Not guns and tanks from past war efforts, but ventilators and protective gear as America braces for the viral onslaught to come. At the Canadian border, there's now a ban on non-essential travel. And even as the president trailed his $1 trillion economic rescue package, as he was speaking, the markets fell through the floor, triggering the circuit breakers and forcing a shutdown for the 4th time in 2 weeks. Screens bleeding red as investors feared a package that large meant the situation was even more serious than they'd imagined. If that medicine didn't work, the president declared a hospital ship would dock in New York to help treat the rising number of critically ill patients.
It will be in New York City Harbor. This will be, it's an extraordinary step, obviously, but it will, it's literally a floating hospital, which will add capacity, and the president said that he would dispatch that immediately.
From floating hospitals to the roulette wheels of Las Vegas, spinning no more as a month-long gambling freeze went into effect. Bars, movie theatres and restaurants also forced to shutter as the president's Treasury Secretary warned COVID-19 could bring levels of unemployment not seen since the Great Depression of the 1930s.
No, well, I don't agree with that. Yeah, no, I don't agree. That's an absolute total worst case scenario. But no, we don't look at that at all.
Thank you. And my second question.
We're nowhere near it.
But jobs are being lost, and fast. Though these scientists in California said they were working 24 hours a day to produce a new vaccine, saying never before have billions of people around the world simultaneously needed access to urgent treatment as they do now.